right back. And what they were able to do was push Adrian Fernandez's car away from the wall. He's going to continue on, Gary.
Well, we understand that's the case, Paul, and I think Jack Arute was reporting on our intercommunications link that he's going to be going without a nose cone. Here's something that you rarely see on these cars on an oval. Here's the inside front wheel on a backup car. You see this scoop down in here. It's designed to pull air in to help cool the brakes. You were talking about how tough this circuit is on brakes. Well, here's one of the things that you have to do to try to aid those brakes, to try to keep them cool as best you can. You don't often see this on an oval, sometimes on some of the short ovals. I think Danny could probably speak to that much better. Danny?
Yeah, you don't see them a lot, but anytime you have hard braking like a Milwaukee and somewhat even Phoenix. Whoa, look at this. Greg Moore making an attempt there on the restart. He's hooked up. But Gary, back to you on that. The scoops are very important to keep the brakes cool. They need that when they go down that long straightaway. They cool them down, and they also keep the wheel bearings cooled down.
Robbie Gordon, remember, he stopped out of the cycle and sits in third place as a result of that. As he searches for racing room, gets us alongside Eddie Lawson. Danny talked at the start about how the tactics would have to play, and Derek Walker brought Robbie in when he saw an advantage, and a tactical advantage.
And now we see he's up in the third spot. And some of the other guys, Michael Andretti picked up a couple of spots.
Whoa, look at DeFerrin. DeFerrin comes inside there. The back end washes for a second. And he gets by cleanly. Let's go to Jack Arute.
For a second.
Jack Arute?
Well, Paul, there's some problems on Adrian Fernandez's car. Originally, they were going to try and replace the front wings. But what actually happened is the entire nose section was peeled away, so you couldn't insert the wing in the standard way. Now Steve Horn is with us, and Steve, now are you going to try and put the wing back on, or are you going to try and jury rig it? He's got a new nose cone. Steve does. He's going to hand it over the wall. This is going to be a long process, guys, because this is the part of the nose cone that usually you don't have to replace before you put the wing on.
Right, Adrian spun and hit the wall quite hard, which took the whole front nose assembly off. That's a pretty long job to change, which we're changing right now.
What about the condition for Andre Ribeiro's car? He's running so well right now. Has he said anything to you?
No, I'm only dealing with Adrian, so it looks like Andre's going pretty well, though.
Good smile on his face, guys.
Well, everything that Danny suggested at starting, right there. Robbie Gordon's brought in by Derek Walker. The way they deal with this particular car. Al Unser Jr., you can see there, has made his way around Michael Andretti. During those stops, though, the big losers were Mauricio Gugelman, or excuse me, Parker Johnstone, who lost 10 stops, and the big winner was Mauricio, who picked up 3 positions on the pit stops.
I tell you, especially in a race like this where everybody is so close together and so bunched up like this, the pit stop, just think what a couple of tenths of a second is. 1 second at 100 miles an hour is the distance of a football field. So imagine what amount of ground you got to make up or lose on that pit stop.
A couple of violations issued as a result of penalties as they came back to the green flag. Roberto Moreno had a pit speed, 60-mile-an-hour speed limit violation. And they have an indication that Carlos Guerrero ran over the air hose. They were going to give him a violation. So 3 black flags. Marco Greco being the 3rd one. And Fernandez back on the track finally and into the fight. There's Ribeiro lined up on Gordon. Battle for 3rd. Report now comes Jeff Krosnoff out of the race. Mechanical difficulty in the engine compartment.
That wasn't exactly a great day for Toyota, because they had the first retirement, of course, with Juan Fangio. But that's a development program, and those guys are working at it, and they're enthusiastic. They're going to get it sorted.
You ever been in one of those programs? I mean, like, how tough can it be on a driver knowing that he's going into a race in which really it's mostly research?
Well, I've been there, of course, with the original Ilmore and with the Alfa Romeo. And, you know, you're hoping that they get it right because you're the only guy that's got it. And if it is right, you've got a good chance to blow everybody off. But if it isn't right, you're struggling, which unfortunately in most engine development programs, that's the case at the beginning.
Robbie Gordon moves through traffic. Andrew Ribeiro sticks right with him. DeFerrin gets caught up by the slower car now. But DeFerrin is now clear. 4th, 5th, and 6th all together. Michael Andretti just behind Al Unser Jr. there. And we're looking for Paul Tracy. There he is. Black number 3. Al Unser Jr. Red number 2. Black number 3 on Paul Tracy's car. And there's Christian Fittipaldi as well, right behind him. 14th and 15th position. Let's come back up now. Enjoying DeFerrin. DeFerrin's been in pursuit from 5th position of Ribeiro and Gordon for the last few laps. Zanardi continues to lead, 51 complete. We're now under yellow. Emerson Fittipaldi slowed suddenly. Both of the leaders have headed into the pits. There is Zanardi. Gary Gerald?
First stop was flawless. Boy, so was this one. It was 10 and a fraction seconds. Zanardi got lightning service. Of course, they didn't take on a full load of fuel.
And he did get out ahead of Greg Moore as everybody played it smart, followed the leader in.
Yeah, all the fast guys, everybody came in. They're all trying to get that fuel window right for a run at the end of the deal. But Zanardi made another great stop.
Let's go to Jack.
Well, Danny Sullivan, don't count Robbie Gordon out of this. You know, his mentor, Derek Walker, is really calling a good race right now. He came in, not only took on a full load of fuel, changed all 4 tires. They continue to talk the strategy out. But one of the things that's interesting about strategy, guys, is nowadays you don't not only do it with a paper and pencil. There are literally software that has been written to read out the scenarios as the race goes on. One of the laptop computers in each of the pits, one man enters the data as we go along, and it changes the scenario lap by lap. Tells you what might happen.
Hey, Jack, you don't have to tell me about Derek Walker. He was a guy that called my shots for many years at Penske. He's one of the best, and with all those laptops, all the computers, software, everything else, he still does it from the seat of his pants.
I think he's got a computer in his brain, too, and that may be the fastest and most efficient one. Robbie's struggling with something here, trying to get what?
It looks like his pads come loose there or something, and he's trying to get it back into position. Let me tell you, from sitting in the cockpit, all you got to have is a little piece a little bit out. It's the most irritating thing because it just throws you off just that little bit. So he's trying to do it under a yellow.
Yeah, head for a hammer. Robbie Gordon. Now, 2 cars being reported out, Stefan Johansson and Hiro Matsushita. So, Robbie Gordon still trying to move and get that headrest back into position. One of the cars out we mentioned a little while ago, Jeff Krosnoff, out of the race as Gordon still tries to get it in place. Right now, he's with Jack.
Motor problem, but how difficult is it for a young driver to do research and development in race conditions?
It's frustrating. I mean, you know, as a racer, you see these guys in front of you, you want to pass them, you see them coming up behind you, you don't want to let them by. But unfortunately, we're just not at that stage yet. We're having more teething problems, and it's tough, but we'll get there.
What about the race conditions today? We see on board a lot of the cameras showing the drivers are really getting beaten around.
It's quite bumpy up there, and you know, especially off the line. I don't think it's a problem. It's not very hot in the car. When you come into a pit stop and you sit for a minute, then the heat kind of just boils up. Out there, it's not a problem, and it's a pretty good race course to race, you know, for dicing. So
well,
all right, the reason for this yellow is Emerson Fittipaldi slowed on the course, but he's right back in the lineup, so not a terminal problem. Gary Gerald?
Well, here's Stefan Johansson, who just climbed out of his car, and you end up being a victim of somebody else's problems. Tell us what happened.
Well, something penetrated the radiator, and we obviously lost all the water, and the engine started overheating, so we had to call it a day.
How tough has it been out here considering the heat and also the roughness of the circuit and the workout you get in the cockpit?
It's not too bad. I've been to worse places.
Were you at all close to Mark Blundell in that early incident?
No, I didn't see what happened. I mean, I saw it just as the accident had stopped, more or less, but I didn't see what happened, no.
Okay, Stefan, thank you. Shirley Bentonhausen down here alongside. She's got the comfort zone. You need a little spritzer here. Here's the latest way to cool down in this state. Oh, my. The best of creature comforts here. One for Stefan. You don't mind if I take a couple myself.
Back to green flag racing. And you can see the leaders have to come through traffic, but Al Unser Jr. challenging on Robbie Gordon. Michael Andretti moved up to 6th, Gordon is 7th, Junior is 8th. What Gary was talking about there, they have a little handheld fan, battery-powered fan with a squirt bottle on it, so they can squirt water into the fan, spray your face, cool right down. Sounds like something would sell good here today. With the stops, there's the new leader of the race, DeFerrin, followed by Ribeiro. Then Vassar. Then Zanardi, then Greg Moore. Difference, of course, there is DeFerrin, Ribeiro, and Vassar did not stop when the yellow came out for Emerson Fittipaldi.
Remember when we talked at the top of the show, this is going to come down to strategy, and if these guys get it right, you can pick up some spots. You can even end up in the lead. They might get a yellow shortly and fit in their window, and boom, they're right there at the winner's circle.
Also very tactical. Another car out, Mauricio Gugelmin, Jack.
Yeah, one Brazilian leads, one Brazilian watches. Mauricio, we know you're out of the race, but what about brakes on this facility? What's the situation with brakes?
Well, it's a tough place for brakes. And basically, I had a problem with the left rear hub, which broke, which we think is the same thing what happened with Mark Blundell. I got away with it, he didn't. So it was a tough day for us.
Well, a tough day, and it's a hot day to have to sit here and watch, guys, but at least he's got just a little bit of shame.
Again, there seems to be good news on Mark Blundell. They were going to x-ray him here at the hospital at the track, complaining of pain right knee, right ankle. We haven't heard the result of those x-rays yet, but of course it's still very early to hear such a thing. But Gil DeFerrin, the winner at the final race of the season last year, leads it. Al Unser Jr. now setting up on Michael Andretti, battle for 6th. You know, it's so funny to me, Danny. You race drivers, you come to a track, everybody comes here and says, whoa, this looks like it's going to be real hard. I'm not sure. And then flag drops, see some great racing.
Well, you do. I think the biggest thing is, of course, you know it's going to be tough. You know it's going to be physical. It's going to be hot. But your adrenaline gets going. We're seeing great racing out here. Everybody's bunched together. They can't be bothered with worrying about the heat and the bumps. They just got to do it. And we're seeing these guys are swapping places, moving back and forth. Look at little Al and Michael going at it again. They've done this 2 or 3 times.
Two guys have raced with one another all their racing career in the Indy cars. And Al Unser Jr. grabs the position and moves into 6th around Michael.
One of the things, Paul, that I talked to these guys about up and down the pit lane is they're all thinking championship, as we mentioned in Homestead. They're all thinking points. They all want to finish. They want to get some points. So they're willing to race, but they want to keep a little bit in hand to make sure they finish that race.
Al Unser Jr. weaves back and forth there, trying to shake Michael out of his draft.
A little bit and protect his position somewhat, but as you can see, he pulls it out a little bit there. And these guys are going to be racing all day long till the flag.
Michael catches him at the end of the straightaway under braking. Now we'll see if that doesn't just elongate. It does, as the Mercedes power pulls Al Unser Jr. away, Jack.
Well, Paul, consider this fact when you look at Michael Andretti's performance so far. During that last pit stop, the tires on the car were so good, the team elected to keep them on.
Wow. On a track that Danny has said is rough, and yet they're going to keep him on. Tells you something about the tires. Michael Andretti, of course, Ford Cosworth powered there as he battles with the Mercedes. of Al Unser Jr. 69 laps done. And suddenly the leader of the race, DeFerrin, slows going into turn one. Everybody goes past him. He has his hand